We're coming off the back of a month that we've set aside celebrating women, the role that women have played and the historical legacy women have managed not just to live but to build in this country as well. Which leads us then to the question, have we truly moved as a nation towards a sense of equality? Can we genuinely say in 2011 that we're finding ourselves a lot closer to a society where equality is celebrated? I've got a panel of women joining me today, each of them from different backgrounds, each of them with their own ideas. And that's one of the questions I'm looking to throw to this panel. Carla, do you find yourself being a young woman in a man's world still? Do you get the sense that you're making strides, but you're making strides in a man's world?
I don't think I feel that way because I think things are not the same like they used to be. I think there's equal sort of opportunity.
I think the dream of equality is so alive with the young people at the moment. You know, it's something we're going for, it's something we're wanting, and it's such an exciting time to be young at the moment. And obviously there are things that hinder us, and maybe from the past and things. But I think now it's all go.
I think I'm in the middle. You know, I'm sort of in the building my career, young family. You know, baby of 2. You know, so I've passed all the teething phases and I'm not quite at the phase yet. It's still all manic and crazy. But I'm very lucky in that the career I've chosen is actually very much dominated by women. I remember when we came here for the introduction the last time, it was so wonderful to speak to all different age groups of women. And they were all so dynamic. No one was, maybe we were just a dynamic group, but nobody was sort of sitting back and bored with life and washing dishes at home. And maybe I just don't know many people like that anymore. Women are really going out and getting it.
Sandra, are we making strides? Are you seeing it? Are you feeling it? Are you buying what you're hearing? There's a lot of enthusiasm in the room. There's a lot of appreciation for the fact that women have moved, that they've staked their claim. Are we where you'd like to see women?
No, definitely not. In the corporate world, I don't believe that just because a quota is required to have a woman on the board is sufficient to actually make sure that that's, first of all, the right person, and necessarily that she's there. Is she being paid what she's worth? Generally, women are not paid what their male counterparts are, even if they're on the board of a corporate company. So no, I think we still have a very long way to go, and I'm not just talking South Africa. I think worldwide, there's a huge gap as to what women are allowed to do and what men have always been allowed to do.
The generation I'm part of is trying its best to be equal, except that most people I know who are still in high school are getting their ideas from their parents and their grandparents. It's not because of them. They grew up in a household where the father has to come home, bring the food, brings the money for the mother to buy the food and cook the food. It's not necessarily them. I know boys who are still in high school, like grade 10, grade 11, some doing matric, who enjoy cooking, who enjoy doing what other people don't think is right for men to be doing. So I think we've transformed. Our generation is starting to transform, and we're heading towards greatness.
I think it's taking steps forward, and I mean, as much as we want to be, you know, independent and go-getters, we are still influenced by the older generation, and our parents, our aunts and uncles, the people who we surround ourselves with, you know, are a huge influence to us, and we're looking up to you still, and still wanting to take our own steps and, you know, make our own paths and own decisions.
I work with community care workers, and I am very much aware of what we often see as change within society around the role of men and women is actually because there's a woman sitting somewhere catching the flack, whether it is the woman who looks after my children when I go out to work, but there's somebody taking care. And part, for me, of the problem, if you want, is that we do not value the contribution that those caregivers give.
I don't know that I'm ever going to get a chance to sit down with 6 women again. So let me assume then the responsibility for every single man on the planet and every single man that's ever lived. Where do we get it wrong? It's not as if we sit down as a bunch of blokes and say, let's come up with a 10-point plan to oppress women. What's wrong with our thinking? What's wrong with our actions? Where are our perceptions just warped as guys? And generalize all you want, because I think perhaps that just chucks it all on the table. What are guys doing wrong here?
I don't think it's what guys are doing wrong. I think it's what you fear may happen. In that, and on a very small level too. men worried about women becoming presidents and all sorts of things like that. But from the home, you know, the role of men in society in previous generations has always been to go out and bring home the bacon, like Todd said. But they want to come home to their family, and they want to come home to their nurturers and their good home cooked meal and all those things. And what happens when we're also sitting in traffic at 6 o'clock? They're losing that sense of family. And I think that's sort of, you're trying to sort of maintain the structure.
So you're saying that women basically keep the family together?
We do.
Is it possible that we not, as women or men, seeing the other person's point of view and putting ourselves in their shoes, even if it's for that hour or that day, and really appreciating what it's like to be the other person and having empathy or compassion or whatever is required in that moment? So I'm not sure that men necessarily can take the whole blame for what they're doing wrong, as you asked the question. I think it's both. We all have to take responsibility for a relationship because it's not just one-sided.
Heading into relationships, how does one establish, because obviously the dynamics of relationships are beginning to change as we fulfill different roles in society, both men and women. How does one almost establish the ground rules early on so that the expectations can be met? I think we just easily fall into a system of expectations. You will cook the food, I'll earn the money, and this is the way it's going to be.
We shouldn't have expectations. Like, I'm not into cooking and cleaning and washing dishes. I love cars. Personally, that's what I love. And if I meet someone who's the complete opposite of me, I'll be really happy. Because then while I'm fixing the engine or checking up what's wrong with the car, he'll be cooking in the kitchen. There shouldn't be expectations saying that women have to do this, men have to do that. We should all fall into place according to what you love, and reach a common ground where we say we both happy with doing this and that.
My generation has come from my grandmother being a single parent, then my mom ending up being a single parent. So we didn't have that sort of male figure in the house, and she raised 3 daughters to all be sort of independent, don't rely on a man. So when I end up in a relationship, I tend to be sort of like the dominating male figure, sort of like I can do my own thing. You sort of just here to provide sort of love and comfort for me.
But I know a lot of people who were raised by only women, and you do learn to take care of yourself. So when you look for a partner, you don't want necessarily a breadwinner.
Yes.
You know, I got a job, I can go work for myself. I want an equal partner, somebody who can be vulnerable with me and somebody I can be vulnerable with. And that's not about being men or women. It's about being a human being.
As a young South African woman, the concept of Labola, how does that sit with you?
Please, no. For us, Labola goes higher if you can cook.
Yes,
if you can cook,
higher.
if you can iron, it goes higher and higher and higher. And then the man's family needs to pay a certain amount of money to your family because you can cook, because you can clean. But can I ask, why don't they count degrees, how much you've learned, your school career?
School
why don't
fees.
they count things like that? Why do they count cooking and cleaning? What's that going to do for me? Education is what's making us what we are today. So when they're counting the Labola, why don't they count, okay, is this person educated? How are they doing in their career at work? They should count different fields of our life because we all different and we all excel in different ways.
It's not easy when the predominant message out in society is still that a woman's place is in the house. You can go out and be successful and so forth, until this government invests more in educare centers, make sure that children are safe when mothers and fathers are at work, to make sure that children get good quality education, particularly children with learning needs. If that starts happening, if we improve this transport system so that the sisters can go out, have a 12 o'clock movie, go for supper and not worry about being raped or harassed or damaged in any way. That is when I think society is putting its money where its mouth is and making sure that women and men have an equal chance. Until then, it's all lip service, I think.
I mean, how progressive for the bigger picture would it be to have educare centres and creches, if not on the work premises? I know that there are some companies doing it where they have a whole floor. It will change. I mean, I know how stressful it is for me to make sure that my little one gets to play school on time, that I get to work on time. If he's sick, I've got to race home to get him to the doctor, and then the whole day is topsy-turvy. If they just helped facilitate so that we could also sort of not just be in the home, but be helping grow our country, it's a win-win.
Well, ladies, thank you very much for your time. It's been a most enlightening discussion. It's come off the back of Women's Month, and I think with the kind of thinking that we saw coming out of this group, it's safe to say a lot of work still to be done, but I think we've made massive, massive strides. But with women like these, committed, passionate, hardworking, deep-thinking women, I think we can very easily turn the corner.
Lead South Africa.
Lead SA.
Do the right thing.